5-Minute Pearls for Clinical Practice. This week's pearl is called the relaxation response. Hello, this is Dr. Brian Morris, and this is 5-Minute Pearls for Clinical Practice, where you will learn the tools to provide exceptional care for your patients. This is the weekly podcast where you will be introduced to time-tested, evidence-based patient care strategies that aren't always taught in schools or training programs, but are nonetheless crucial for success in clinical practice. And each podcast episode is about 5 minutes. You may remember back in Pearl 1, we spoke about the importance of our focus and our attention being on the patient that we're seeing at a given time and not being distracted by everything that's going on around us or things that may have happened before, or by things that happened in the past, or things that might happen in the future. Focusing on the present moment with that patient is so crucial to providing optimal medical care. In that pearl, I alluded to practices such as yoga, Pilates, and meditation that can help us to practice focusing our attention on the present moment. In this podcast episode, I'd like to take just a few minutes and review a simple practice that was taught to me many years ago when I was at Harvard in the 1990s. This is called the relaxation response, and it was taught to me by Dr. Herbert Benson, who's been a real pioneer in the field of meditation and the benefits that relaxation and meditation have on the entire human body. His tool, called the relaxation response, is probably the most scientifically validated form of meditation that we have. It is a scientifically validated form of mindfulness and meditation that help people in all different facets of life to learn how to focus our attention on the given moment. It is something that I teach my patients, and frankly, it is something that healthcare professionals often practice. In fact, Dr. Benson, for many years, has given a conference for healthcare professionals at Harvard Medical School, and part of the conference is him teaching his tools to the healthcare professionals who are attending that conference. This tool is called the relaxation response, and it is a practice that has been studied for many years by Dr. Benson and his team, and it has been shown to have huge benefits. It has been shown to be helpful for sleep, for hypertension, for many other medical problems. It is very helpful for those looking to improve focus and attention, and also to find a space for moments of relaxation that can promote healing. Back in the 1970s and the 1980s, Dr. Benson described this process as an antidote to the fight or flight reaction that forms the basis of the modern-day stress reaction. As you may recall, the fight or flight response is the body's response to stress. Dr. Benson published dozens of studies showing that this simple tool called the relaxation response can help the mind and the body combat the stress reaction and can promote the physiology of healing. It can also be helpful for those looking to improve focus and attention when we meet with patients or any other project that we might be working on. If you'd like to learn more about Dr. Benson's work, feel free to Google him or read some of his classic books, such as the book The Relaxation Response or Timeless Healing. But in this podcast episode, I'd like to briefly review the relaxation response as Dr. Benson described it and how it works. It is very simple but very powerful. With this tool, we pick a word or a phrase that means something to us. Now, traditionally in meditation or mindfulness, people would pick a word like love or peace or a sound like And this word or phrase or even a sound would be the mantra or the focus word. It would be the item that would be focused on during your meditative process. Dr. Benson, through his studies, found, however, that picking a word or phrase that means something to the person makes it even more powerful. So instead of just picking peace or love, he found that it was better to find something personalized. So I encourage my patients to find a word or a phrase that really means something to them, that when they say that word or phrase, or when they think about that word or phrase, they feel really good, healing thoughts within themselves. It can be something religious, it can be something just generally spiritual, or it can be something unrelated to those areas of life. It could be the name of a person or the name of a place, but it's something that when said makes the person feel well. The second phase of this process is to then sit down in a comfortable chair and to say the word or phrase either out loud or internally, but to say that word or phrase repeatedly. So the person would say the word or phrase over and over again slowly. And this usually goes fairly well for about 10 or 15 or 20 seconds, but then other thoughts typically will then enter the mind. And when those thoughts enter the mind, Dr. Benson teaches that that external thought should be let go, and the person should gently and passively return back to the focus word or phrase. I sort of compare it to driving down a highway. As you drive down a highway, you're driving straight ahead, and then all of a sudden you realize that the car is slightly turning off to the left, and then you turn the steering wheel back clockwise to make sure that the car stays straight. So in the relaxation response, as you're focusing on your focus word or phrase, other thoughts will try to enter your mind about projects you're working on, or something at home, or something with your kids, or a friend, or some other thought will enter your mind. And what you're supposed to do is let that thought or phrase go and return back to your focus word or phrase. And this is a continual process. Every few seconds, you'll probably think of a new thought, at least in the beginning, and your goal is to let that thought go and return back to your focus word or phrase. And that's really it. It's typically best to do this process for about 5 or 10 minutes. But what this does is it gives your body a timeout, a vacation from thinking. Because as you're practicing this, you're not letting yourself get deep into thought. The second you realize that you're thinking about something, you let it go and you return back to your focus word. So it's training your body, you're training your mind to stay focused on this special word or phrase that you've chosen because it has special meaning for you. And Dr. Benson found that this practice, even for 5, 10, or 15 minutes a day, can have powerful benefits. It helps to fortify the mind, and there's tremendous scientific data to support the benefits of this tool called the relaxation response. If you go on iTunes, you'll see that there are some nice apps that walk you through this process and can make it easier. Or you can simply just practice this yourself, or you can consider teaching this to your patients. For me, in my practice, what I did was I created a handout. So I have a handout where I give this to patients, and it describes this process in some detail. And I usually explain to the patient in the office how this works and why this might be helpful to them. For example, they might be having trouble sleeping, or they might be having some other problem related to stress. And I explain to them that there's some very good scientific data that this process called the relaxation response can help the body heal from excessive stress and may have some health benefits for the patient. Then I usually explain how this works and I give them the handout. But I wanted to explain this process in one of these podcast episodes because it can be quite useful to teach patients in a wide range of specialties, and also many healthcare professionals find this tool very helpful. And it's definitely something that I encourage people to read about and try to learn about. And of course, there are many other forms of meditation or mindfulness. There's many other tools out there that reinforce the relaxation process for the body, which can be an antidote to stress. I encourage medical students and house staff and young healthcare providers to learn about these tools because they can be very helpful to our patients. So it's something that I think is very important for young healthcare providers to learn about. Let's keep the dialogue going. Let me know what you think of this week's Pearl for Clinical Practice. You can email me at drmorris@5minutemd.com. That's DRMORRIS at 5minutemd.com. You can post your comments and your experiences on the 5 Minute MD Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter at Brian Morris MD. And you can visit us anytime on our website, 5minutemd.com. Let your friends and your colleagues know about the podcast and make sure that you are subscribed on iTunes. When you are subscribed on iTunes, you will receive new podcast pearls as soon as they are posted. And if you have a few minutes and you enjoy what we're doing here on this podcast, please head over to iTunes and leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you at the next 5.